Welcome to The Explainer. It was a really packed week of announcements from the White House. So what we're going to do is cut through all that noise. From trade deals to border security, we're going to break down the key policy moves and the powerful story the administration is trying to tell. So right off the bat, you see how the administration is framing everything. They're saying these actions are a direct fulfillment of that mandate and that they're moving with, quote, unprecedented speed. The message they want you to hear is loud and clear. Promises made are being kept, and it is all happening right now. Let's take a closer look at how they're making that case.
Okay, so the main theme, the big idea they're pushing this week, it's all wrapped up in this document called Promises Made, Promises Kept. And this thing isn't just some list of accomplishments. Nope. It's a really carefully crafted story designed to link every single policy move right back to the campaign trail. It reinforces this whole idea of a mandate in action.
Think of this document as our roadmap for today. It connects everything they announced back to these big, overarching campaign promises. So let's follow this map, and we'll start with a huge focus for them this week, the economy and their push to make America affordable again.
All right, so on the economy, their focus was really laser-sharp this week. It was all about trade and inflation and connecting those big, complex policies directly to the wallets of American families. The message is pretty simple. We're taking action to bring down your costs, and we're doing it with new trade deals and very targeted policies. And of course, they're pointing to what they see as real-world results. A White House article was highlighting a 3% drop in the cost of a Thanksgiving dinner. And get this, things like dinner rolls were down a reported 22%. For the administration, this isn't just a random statistic, right? It's their proof point in what they're calling the war on high prices.
Okay, so how are they doing this? Well, a key part of their trade strategy is something called the reciprocal tariff. The idea here basically is to level the playing field. This week, they actually tweaked this policy with a new executive order, one that's designed to both protect American industries and give the U.S. more muscle in trade talks.
And this here gives us a really concrete look at how that policy works in practice. What you're seeing is a list of agricultural goods that are now exempt from those tariffs. The administration is saying, hey, this is a strategic move. It's based on what we need here at home. And more importantly, it's a sign that our trade negotiations are actually working.
And that brings us right to the why behind those tariff changes. See, the White House just announced these new trade frameworks with 4 countries in Latin America. Each one is designed to open up their markets to all kinds of U.S. exports. Everything from auto parts to beef, really showing off their focus on these one-on-one deals.
But it wasn't just about the Western Hemisphere. The trade focus went even further. This week, we also saw a new framework with Switzerland and Liechtenstein. And this isn't just about tariffs and goods. It includes these massive investment pledges, which the administration is absolutely holding up as a huge win for American jobs. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We're moving from the economy to another massive pillar of the administration's agenda, border security. And again, going back to that promises kept document, the language they use is incredibly strong. They're framing their actions as a direct response to what they call a migrant invasion. So what does that actually look like? Well, this here lays out a really fast sequence of policy changes, and we're not talking about small tweaks. From their point of view, these are fundamental reversals of old policies plus brand new laws and executive orders all rolled out in just a matter of months. And they are absolutely backing these claims up with some pretty jaw-dropping numbers. According to their own data, there have been just 9 releases of illegal immigrants into the U.S. interior since these new policies took effect. They're presenting this as a 99.99% decrease, basically saying catch and release is over.
And this quote, pulled right from that Promises Kept document, it really puts the scale of their ambition into perspective. They're not just talking about more enforcement. They're framing their actions as part of the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. That is a huge, huge statement of intent.
All right, so we've talked border, we've talked economy, but there was another big push from the White House this week, and that was on domestic social policy. This is where you can really see their vision for American values taking center stage, with policy announcements that directly reflect their ideological priorities.
So a huge announcement was this Fostering the Future initiative. It's a new executive order led by the First Lady, and it's being presented as a complete overhaul of the nation's foster care system. They're talking about using tech and public-private partnerships to improve things for kids, like creating an online platform to connect youth with resources for housing, education, and jobs. But inside that order,
there's this really key directive that has definitely gotten a lot of attention. It aims to stop what the administration calls discrimination based on religious beliefs in foster and adoptive services. This basically means ensuring that faith-based organizations can fully participate in federally funded programs, which, as you can imagine, has sparked a lot of debate.
And this theme of American values was driven home even further with a presidential proclamation for Anti-Communism Week. I mean, just look at the slide. The language is black and white. It draws this incredibly stark line between the two ideologies. This isn't just a symbolic move, it's a very clear statement of the administration's worldview, one they're actively promoting.
And tying this all together, in a recent speech, the First Lady connected this social vision to a bigger idea of patriotism. She argued that innovation and ambition aren't just about personal success. They're a form of public service that strengthens the whole nation. This framing really elevates individual achievement to a national priority.
Okay, so let's take a step back. What does all this add up to? When you look at everything that came out in just a single week, a really clear pattern starts to form. You see an administration that is just relentlessly pushing forward on multiple fronts: economy, borders, social policy, all under that one unifying banner of promises made, promises kept.
You can really boil this week's actions down to 3 core pillars. First, reshaping global trade to benefit American interests. Second, implementing an aggressive and comprehensive strategy to secure the border. And third, actively promoting a very specific vision of American social and cultural values.
The communications from just this 1 week paint a picture of an administration in constant motion, moving decisively on its core promises. The pace is just relentless, the message is crystal clear, and the ambition is massive. And that really leaves us with a critical question to think about. What's the long-term impact going to be when an entire administration acts with this kind of speed and resolve? That's a question we'll keep exploring.